we have a special treat today. Jason Dempsey is going to come down and give us his testimony. Oh, Don's coming with you. Good. Thank you.
We won't talk at the exact same. We won't talk at the exact same time, but I'm grateful to really just have a chance to have a talk. Really tell you guys about what's been going on in our life since early September, right after men's retreat. So it was quite a bit has changed. Not really changed. God always had a plan. So just quite a bit has just happened. So since then, and I think that's what I'd like to talk about is really just what's happened since that men's retreat, and really just I got a few minutes. Got a few minutes. Okay. It was kind of funny. We were sitting there last night and we were like, okay, I want to tell everyone, because my church family, about what's been going on in my life. And it's like, where do you start? There's so much that's happened. And I said, well, let me just tell you, if you just don't know, went to men's retreat, awesome time. A lot of the men are here that I was there with. Had a chance to exalt God and talk about how we were exalting God. And I missed, unfortunately, the men coming back and talking about their experiences at the retreat. But while there, I did have an opportunity to stand up and give a little bit of a presentation, similar kind of thing, where I was talking about how Don didn't like me clapping in church, so I have me with him. And anyway, while I was there, and there's a reason, I'll get around to why there was a reason to this. And while I was there, it was I was explaining to the men, I was like, well, I was giving one thing, and you kind of sleep on things, I was giving something, and it was just my God, your God, our God. My God, your God, our God. And it was just a rhythm, as a chant. I was able to do that while doing some declarations with the men. And it was just kind of awesome, really. It was just awesome. And so, but that's going to have a meaning later. I didn't know the other hidden meaning with that. And I was just like, so with men's retreat, great time, not a lot of sleeping that goes on in the men's retreat. Right in, I was right there. There ain't a lot of sleeping that goes on in the men's retreat. So came back from the men's retreat, just drained. But while I was there, I found out that Brock had contracted COVID at UNCW. And so I was like, oh man, so I'm gonna go back to now. So peace and patience just wasn't there with me. I was like, oh, what do I got? So went back home, weakened, really just from lack of sleep, and I got COVID. A lot of us have gotten COVID in this room, so it's not a huge deal. And I took it that way. It's COVID. And I didn't even know I really had it. Brock was coughing, carrying on, but kids cough. Dawn started coughing a little bit. She's fine. So I kind of went through it for about a week or so, and I gave in. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I went to the doctor. And so I went to the doctor, went to the ER. When I went to the ER, the only thing I had on me really was the clothes on my back and my cell phone and just a long extension cord. Thank goodness for long extension cords on iPhones. So if you ever have to do that, get a long extension cord. So went to ER, and I'm giving you a lot of background, a lot of history. There's reason. I don't know if you guys have ever been to ER because of COVID or anything else. Yes, Janet. You're isolated. They don't let your family go in there with you or anything like that. So I was able to kind of walk from the car and just collapse at the door. And luckily the security guard there was wheelchairs, and he was able to put me into a wheelchair and get me up in there. By the way, this is just in September. We're here in November talking about it. Amen. So, so I was admitted into the ER. And it's interesting when you go in, you're fighting stuff like this, because you got my testimony, but you also have the testimony of your family. I'm not going to cry because this is good. This is good stuff. You got the testimony of your family that's at home, your church family, your family, your blood family, your friends, your coworkers, everybody immediately praying. I needed all of it. Found myself in ER, got admitted. And it's kind of a long story there. It's all about blood oxygen levels, not being able to breathe. Because COVID with me kind of started my lower lungs and progressed upwards. So you find yourself breathing with only the top part of your lungs. So I was digressing, and there's 3 levels of digression. And you kind of start off with a regular room. You go to like an intermediate room, and then you go to ICU. And then ICU means see you goodbye. No, not really. Some people do get out of there. And so, but that's often where you get vented and stuff like that. So that's kind of the progression. So, I found myself going through that progression. And going back to the lungs, when you're in there, I found myself only being able to breathe the top part of my lungs. And so, you're, kind of breathing like that. This is going to give you a perspective. Because there's no lung mass, for you to breathe. And guess what I was using? My God, your God, our God. My God, your God, our God. My God, your... So I was just laying there in bed, and that's what I was doing. Just for hours. I could breathe. Luckily, I did have my cell phone, like I said. I'm not sure what your favorite radio station is. Mine's K-Love. And I was able to just kind of blast K-Love the whole time, which was kind of weird for, I think, a lot of the folks in the hospitals. They're like, what's this? This guy's got Christian music? Oh, yeah, you come into my room, you're going to hear K-Love. And I'm sitting there chanting away, breathing, and I'm just working it. So, there's God right there, right? So, what you have available to you, you're using. So, in a short story, I was then finally allowed to come home, discharged from the hospital, and I had an opportunity to give this testimony. But I wanted to give you a little bit more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more. When you're in there, I wanted to, give you some accounts, because you go through certain amounts of, I hate to use the word torture, but there's a certain amount of mental anguish and physical anguish when you're by yourself, and like I said, and when you're in those rooms, and this is all, when you're in those rooms, there's people are treating the disease more than the patient. So they're going through their playbook, and then they don't want to touch you, and they're all coming in there dressed like something off Star Wars. They get their helmets on and their gowns on, and they're not wanting to put their little stethoscopes even on your skin. And so you're kind of going through that impersonable thing, and so you're feeling alone. But God reminds you that you're not alone. The one thing I learned in there is, if you haven't ever gone through this, is about lungs. Your lungs, you have smaller lungs coming in the front. You got a large amount of lung in your back. I didn't know that. And so they tell you to prone. And they get you to prone. So I'm not sure if you guys or ladies that can lay on your bellies, but if you're able to lay on your bellies, you're able to kind of help yourself, because you got a lot more lungs there. But praying takes on a whole different meaning when you're in the hospital. When you're in the hospital, I'll let you get the visualization. When you're in the hospital, first of all, you have high flow oxygen that they're sending in your nose. It's a large tube, it's about the size of a water hose, that runs through warm salt water, because it's compressed air, so it's cold as ice. It's running into your face, your nose. They have IVs in your arm, and a little thing reading your air blood levels on this arm. On this arm, they will have a blood pressure cuff, where they're checking your blood pressure that goes off every hour. And then blood clots are a big deal, so they put these like socks kind of things on your legs. They go up to your knees on both sides. They just kind of massage your legs, but they are strapped into the bottom of the bed. So, this is your position. In the bed, on your belly. One arm out here, one arm out here. You can turn your head left and right. And that's it. And you're strapped. It's a crucifixion. You were pretty well crucified to that bed. But it's interesting. That's some of the physical and the mental. But then you look back at what's going on at home. And at home, just your family's just going through it as well. And Dawn, she was getting visions and just words from God, and she had something even on pruning.
So, thank you, Pastor Melissa, because every day she would text me and ask how things were going, and anything that I felt that I needed prayer for or whatever, she would pray with me, and she just was, whatever word I said, yes, I'm with you, I'm right there with you. And Christy was there with me every day, and I know that this whole church was with us every day because they just started a prayer chain for us. Every time we thought something was negative, they started a prayer chain, and let me tell you, that prayer chain worked.
Absolutely, needed every one of them.
So I literally had a breakdown, and I said, Jesus, where are you? And I heard as clear as day, I am right here. So I started getting stronger in my prayer warrior, and I had my prayer space where I knew if I got a call or any bad text, I was going to that specific spot. And Jesus started showing me visions because he knew I needed them. So when Jason was praying, he really couldn't talk. So I would call him just to FaceTime him just because I needed to see him. So Jesus gave me a vision that he had laid both hands on Jason's back. And then he laid a hand on Jason's chest. And that was just letting me know that Jesus was there with him and he was going to heal that COVID that was in his lungs.
Yeah. I forgot about 10 probes on my belly and 10 probes on my back that they kind of glue to you. I forgot about telling you about that. And the machines going off and all that. But yes, and I needed those words. I needed those words from Dawn. She was able, she and Christy were able to send some care packages, and the first, again, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't take anything, but luckily in the first care package, I got this. And I'll get to the Bible. But let me talk a little bit more about some of the other physical things you go through. One of the things you also go through is you're taking oxygen in your nose at a very high rate. What this does is it rips your nose all apart. So your nose was just bleeding, and this is your source of oxygen, by the way. When you're fighting for oxygen, they have it all up in there, and it's just a really, for lack of a better term, a bloody mess. But you've got so much going on, you don't know really how to deal with that. But God sends little blessings. Again, I'm dealing with this, and it sounds simple. I thank Christy for these little wipes that she gave me. Getting that first little, and I was just like, those are just some simple little wipes, just found hand around. And I was like, little simple things. God's just giving them, hey, let me just give you this. You need this, because you need to blow that stuff out of your nose, Jason, so you breathe a little better. And it sounds simple, but when you're all alone, and with all this going on around you, you don't know. And then God sent me another one. Amy, she's not here with us today. She's live streaming, Amy. She just made some very simple, sweet, probably 10 or 15-second songs. Not much to their songs, but this is what they did. And I needed it because that gave me just something to blow out my nose. I mean, because you have nothing. You know what's good to help you blow out your nose? Tears. And one of our things about exalting Jesus at Manger Tree was humble ourselves. I'd say you're humble when you are surfing through text messages to find little video or little audio files that I can listen to repeatedly to make me just tear up. To blow your nose. It's God. I mean, it's God. And God uses what he has. And God has your flesh. He's not saying, hey, doctor, how about you get that guy some nasal spray? He's like, hey, Jason, you need to breathe? I got you. We got some tears for you. We got you. So just want to tell you that. Thank you, Amy, and simple blessings. What else do you have when you're all alone? And I'm not telling you a lot, but I really appreciate it. It's very therapeutic for me. Is letters and pictures. I was in that first care package. I got some. I even got some second and third ones. And Don and Chrissy and others were very good about sending me things. But when you're in there all by yourself, Don had sent me a couple of letters. So it's like some of the things you do, I'm not sure if God tells you, but you just do it. So you're in there all by yourself, and one of the letters just said, I love you. Now simple, and it's like those songs. I had another letter that was a bit more involved, another letter, And luckily I was able to get this kind of taped to my bed. And so remember the crucifixion that I told you? I could stare at the letters all day. Needed it. And K-Love. So I needed it. So I was able to stare at those letters, and guess what? When it's nighttime, you know what those letters give you? I could touch it. And so it was like I needed it. So it's good. So those letters helped me. And one of the letters, actually letters were great. I also had a really great picture. That's not in here. When I think Christy's, had a vision. Just really Superman. They said Super Jason, but we'll say Superman. In God's hands. And I had that up as well. So it was awesome. So I was able to kind of keep that with me, just to have an understanding that, I had support. And I think that's what, you really need in there. Support obviously also came from the Bible. And Dawn, she's crazy good. She just said, hey, listen to Psalm 91 all over that. And I'm like, well, I'm not like a lot of people in this room. Oh, Psalm 91, let me just quote that for you. I'm not that guy. And so I got to get it out. I'm getting it out and I'm pulling it up. And I'm not sure if you guys are intimate with Psalm 91 the way I am. I read it every night, every day. It was just, again, I couldn't move very far, but I could put that Bible right in front of my face. And Psalm 91, oh my goodness. You just read it, it just makes you feel good. And just some of the passages here. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and your buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor the destruction that lays waste at noonday. It's good stuff. And, there's all of it's good. But getting down here, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling, for he shall give you his angels charge over you. So I was laying in bed reading, and Dawn, she comes up and she's like, "Oh, I've got a vision on that."
So God gave me a vision of 4 angels in his room, and they posted at his bedside, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. For several days, they just sat there.
So I mean, when you're laying in bed and you're looking for reassurance, there's no better reassurance than God. And so, I mean, so I live, so now I'm different from a lot of the patients that the nurses and the doctors are seeing in their hospital, because I brought God with me. And, so when they walk into my room now, they're hearing K-Love going constantly. Now I got my Bible out constantly. And now, when they're talking to me, they could just see that, this guy, he's a fighter, so he's going to get through this. And I was getting reassurance from Don and others, just of all the prayer groups and all the support coming from you guys, and I couldn't have done it without you. But I had another thing. God works in all kinds of different ways, because God knows the past, present, and future. So, and God is like, okay, Jason, you've gone through some things. People have gone through things. You've gone through some things. I'm going to use you a little bit. Because I don't have the closest relationship with my father. But just ask for him to pray for me. And he did. The other thing you don't know is my father doesn't have a relationship with God. So it's just very reassuring and just awesome that God can take a situation that on the surface appears bad, and he can use it to go after sheep. He can use this, and it was just making me stronger. I was like, oh my gosh, my dad just said he was praying for me. Okay, I'll take that. That's strength. And so I was able to use that. It's really just inspiration to kind of just help move along and keep going forward. I also had some more inspirations, just some, this, I'll tell you a scary one. I was in ICU. I kept progressing up. I thought I was getting better, and found out that according to the doctors, they thought I was getting worse. Go to ICU, and first thing, I met a doctor in there. I won't tell you her name. I'm sure it has something evil in it. And the first thing she said to me is, she said, Jason, how you eating? I said, that's one thing I have never lost. I've been able to, eat well through this, because I felt like I needed to keep eating. Even though I did lose 23 pounds over the last 10 days, I felt like I needed to keep eating. And this is exact words, I'm not breaking this up. She said, we're going to stop that. We're going to cut that in half. So that was one thing I thought was positive. I thought that was a good thing. And she said, we're going to have to cut your food down. This is no lie. So when I stick that tube down your throat, I don't have to fight with any of your food that's in your belly. This is my entrance into ICU. First thing, they just had put my bed in there. Nurse just walked out of the room. My first consultation with the doctor. I was like, whoa. Come on now. I mean, I'm sick, but you're not going to put me on a ventilator. Because I know where these ventilators lead, and it's not good. So I'm not going to go on this ventilator. You're going to have to come up with something else. And then she said, well, I said, I'm able to keep my oxygen levels up. She said, you're doing it, but you're breathing like 3 times faster than you should. I'm not, you should only be breathing about 23 breaths per minute, and you're breathing a lot more. And I'm taking it, I'm freaking out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die here. I jump on, she finally leaves, thank goodness. Oh well, Well, I didn't tell you about how she gave me a hard time about not being vaccinated. Yeah, I'm not vaccinated. And then she was like, hey, was it worth it? Yeah, I'm here. I haven't changed my opinion on it. And so I went through that. And then I did on the phone, I texted Dawn, and of course she got through her networks, and then through her networks, she was just like, oh, I'll take care of her. So you got to have your outside help and support. Next thing I know, I got a lady coming in there from, where was she from?
Patient relations.
Patient relations. To keep that doctor out of my face anymore. And so the enemy is going to keep coming at you. And that's why I tell you that story. The enemy's going to come at you when you're weak. The enemy's going to attack you when you come back from a really great men's retreat. And you're feeling right with the Lord. The enemy's going to put people in your path. The enemy's going to put you in pain. The enemy is just going to do things to you mentally. But God will help see you through those obstacles. And that's what this testimony is all about, is really just all the obstacles I had to face. The one I told you guys about wasn't even COVID, right? I mean, it's just everything else that you go through while you're going through something like that. And that was some of your visions in any way.
I got one more, but that's... So God brought a blessing after we got rid of the ungodly doctor. He brought us a doctor in, and he was just like, we're going to get you out of this ICU. So God gave me a vision, and they started bringing Jason's oxygen down. And those angels that were posted at his bed, they started swirling in that room. And I didn't realize it at the time, but those angels were giving him breath. Yeah. And then Jesus also took that cannula off of his face, went behind him, touched the monitors, did something, and I knew at that time he was going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, it gets better. Yeah, it gets better. Yeah, so I now, granted, now I've already kicked out my doctor. I'm in ICU. I'm fighting. I got my K-Love going. I got my Bible out. Now I'm going to take a step further. I'm going to refuse to wear the gown. So I wish I had some pictures. I'd love to show you some pictures. I got a couple. It's kind of funny. I'm sitting there wearing my, and Jeannie has the same shirt. I'm wearing my Death Can't Hold Him Down shirt. So I'm in ICU. They're doing whatever they want to do. And I'm just like, okay, you're going to have to get past God first and my wife. And then we'll see where we go with this. So they said, okay, we're going to give up on you yesterday. And said, well, I see we're not going to get the ventilator on you, so we're going to start cutting your oxygen down. And this, I think, in my opinion, is another test of the enemy. Okay, I'm all about trying to get out of there. But when you're taking a hose of oxygen, it's like that big, 30 liters of, is it liters or milliliters? Liters, 30 liters of oxygen. And all of a sudden he goes, 6? Go for it. And so, it just starts going on down. And then I start making some videos, and it's just like, okay, I realize I got to do this to come home. So I'm going to put up with the 6 liters of oxygen. And you can just see it on my face where I'm suffering. I mean, after so many days in the hospital, what happens is you kind of, first of all, you forget you don't know how to breathe anymore. Your body just is taking so much oxygen that you don't breathe for yourself anymore. And so now you're forced to learn how to breathe again. And by the way, all that weight that I lost was like from my waist down, so I look like that guy off Despicable Me. And, because your body fights to keep what it can alive, and it decided to keep my organs alive, not my legs. And so I lost all that muscle in my legs, so much so that my legs were wrinkly. I never saw wrinkly calves before. They were wrinkly because they lost so much mass. And I'm now standing here today. And so within 72 hours, they dropped me down to 3 liters from 30. So from 30 down to 3 liters. And honestly, I was sitting there thinking the whole time, when we texted, I was like, these guys just want me to fall out here in ICU. They want to prove to me that I am not ready to go home. But I'm real pig-headed. I'm stubborn. And I started, making these videos to Dawn, and I was like, suck it up, buttercup, or I'm coming home. And, but again, I just see that as God's breath helping me through those situations, and those angels in the room protecting me, and then, just really fighting through it. So it's been quite an ordeal. And then and then there's even more. Had to come home, teach myself to breathe again. Again, I literally had to hold Dawn, just kind of come up behind her and, kind of spoon her and put my hand on her belly and mimic her breaths until I learned to breathe again. I could not sit up in the bed. Brock was there. You guys know my son Brock. He was there. He was like, "Dad, just sit up." And he was like, "Gene, just stand up." And then I was just like, "Okay." Dawn was out of the room. I sat up and I just fell out. And she came up like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, mother hen, what did you do? What did you do? So going through all those, I won't bore you with all that. But again, that was just God bringing me back, and I feel that bring back was just an opportunity to be able to stand in front of you guys today. And I just have so much to be thankful for. And I know I'm going to forget things, but something I wanted to definitely call out was definitely all the prayers, the meals. There's a definition of healthy food. If you guys want to eat some good food, go to Janet's house. Just great healthy food that just kind of just brought my body back. And just little steps, little things we take for granted. God helps you through it. God helps you just when the enemy is attacking, God is there. So just to recap, and my final sheet of paper, and you're like, thank goodness, this guy's long-winded. The enemy brought COVID to my house, right? The enemy, a lot of people get over COVID, but the enemy took me to the hospital. The enemy tortured me mentally and physically while I was there. There was one point, even when I thought I was getting better, that was the day they told me I was going to ICU. And I was just like, I thought I was on my way out. And then, unfortunately, I digressed. The enemy sent me a doctor that, I'm still not convinced wanted to kill me. It was bad. But, the enemy did send me another doctor. And that's who Don was getting at. The doctor... God. The enemy sent me the bad doctor. God sent me the good doctor, Dr. Manasco, which, by the way, I heard Dr. Damascus. I was like, is there a biblical reference for that? I think there might be. That said, hey, let me get you out of here. I didn't tell you another thing. When I finally did go home, I was home health or health home, whatever they call that. Hospital home, thank you. And I see nurses and paramedics every day, twice a day. I'm not sure if you ever had to go through that. It's not fun. But the first paramedic that came, this is no lie, I can't make this stuff up. He comes in, and he says, Mr. Dempsey, your oxygen levels are just way too low. And by the way, they made me up to 5 liters at home. They were trying to take me out at 3 liters at the hospital. He said, your oxygen levels are too low. And by the way, he showed me a picture of my lungs. He said, this is what your lungs look like. They're eat up with COVID still. And so you still have, your lungs are white with COVID. We're going to take you back to the hospital. I was like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? After everything, so here comes the ambulances again, and they take me back to the hospital for a CT scan. And it was kind of funny. Even as I'm kind of ornery. Even as I'm getting into the ambulance, I'm like, you better be bringing me home. you better be bringing me home. I was like, I'm not going unless you bring me home. And so they did. So the enemy threw that was his Hail Mary. He threw a Hail Mary at me. Let's see if we can get this guy. We're going to send him back to the hospital again. That CT scan came out like the rest of them. I was okay, not great, but okay. And then I've got some other ones here. I don't know, all you guys out there, rehab homes, everything seems to break in a home when you can't fix it. My garage door wasn't shut. My front doorknob got broken off, I guess, with all the different people coming in. And I can't get out of my bed. So these are like the little enemy jabs. Like, I'm just going to give you a little bit more. But then God comes in and he says, okay, let me help you out here. Here's what God does. God gave me peace and patience, and while I was in the hospital. That's number one. I mean, you can't make it without that. God also gave me a miracle. I mean, I'm not sure. That's my first miracle. I'm not saying it's going to be my last. But going from a very high oxygen level to a very low oxygen level so quickly, I think is a miracle. And being able to come through that, and again, being able to build myself up to the point of being able to come to you guys today. And all the simple blessings, I didn't want to forget that. Simple blessings, it's kind of funny. The simple blessings where God put in my mind, about the my God, your God, our God. That was just something for a men's retreat. Who knew I was going to use it to save my life? And so God has other plans for us. And little things that you do or little things that he gives you, you don't know. And so there's another plan. And then like they said, the simple blessings, like the simple wipes to blow my nose, the songs, the letters, Dawn's visions, and just constant prayers, y'all's prayers, the prayers of my family, the prayers of my friends, work, the blessings of even the foods, the gift cards, everything you need to kind of get yourself going again. It was all there. The blessing of sending in Dr. Manasco, for some reason I just knew it was Dr. Damascus, who was the only one willing to stand up, right there at the end to get me out of there. Then, of course, the healings that went on with being able to heal my legs, to be able to, guys, I'm not sure if you heard me, and again, this was probably all happening in October. It's just middle November. I had to roll out of the bed because I couldn't stand up at all. I just gave back my oxygen last week, so and I'm able to have this much room to talk to you guys. Yeah, and as Janet will tell you, every breath counts. So and then. Just really, what I really look back on it, and I'm like, gosh, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. It's God's will. And God knew what he was doing. God knew, that I could handle it. God knew that I would have the support. God took an opportunity to bring in sheep, my family. So God allowed me to talk to those nurses in there that needed it as well. And especially that one that had one nurse. Did I tell the story? Oh, I didn't even tell that one. Gosh, there's so much. Had one nurse there at the end. She came up to me. This is no lie. I can't make this up. She said. She was fairly new to the hospital. I'm not sure what fairly new means, but she was in ICU, so she was working there. She said, you know what, Mr. Dempsey, you really inspired me. Oh, cool. Well, what'd I do? And she said, you inspired me because I haven't seen many people come out. I haven't seen, actually her words were any. I haven't seen any people come out of ICU yet. And I was just like, wow, that's scary. Glad you didn't tell me that day one. But anyway, it's those other blessings. So hopefully, what we do in our everyday lives and how we act amongst others and the words we use, it's not just for our own benefit, it's also for the benefit of others. And so all of that is just really just part of my testimony. And I'm glad I got a chance to give it to you. Dawn has really great vision, but I'm really grateful to have a good chance to tell you guys just really not how bad the last couple of months were, but just how awesome, in reflection they were.
You're talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not really a vision.
Oh.
So the night I knew Jason was coming home and we were getting prepared for him to come home, God just laid on my heart to write down everything, try to write down everything. And I'm doing this at like 3 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. But I wrote down that there is no doubt in my mind that my husband would not be here today if it were not for God. God gets all the glory. And I thank Jesus for turning what the enemy meant for evil to good. My husband and I grew stronger as a couple. Our faith is off the charts. And this is a total God thing. For anyone out there that doesn't think God loves you, we cannot fathom the amount of love and compassion our Heavenly Father has for us. Oh, how blessed we are.
Amen. Awesome, babe.